Alright, I've got the Radiolink R8XM Telemetry SBUS PPM receiver installed on the Radiolink A560 3D plane. I don't know if you guys have watched any videos of this, but it's a fantastic little trainer 3D plane. Now, when I set my aircraft up, I always make sure that I remove the prop. So you'll notice the prop is removed from this plane. And I really suggest everybody do that. Okay, so the Radiolink R8XM telemetry receiver comes with a telemetry cable for your flight battery. Your balance plug will plug into that telemetry cable so that it can monitor the voltage on your flight battery. The cable that comes with it is for a 2S LiPo, but the receiver is rated for a 2S to a 6S LiPo. So you'll have to fabricate, I suppose you'll have to fabricate your own cable for a larger LiPo than a 2S LiPo, which is what I'm going to do. Alright, so one thing I want to demonstrate is the battery alarm that this receiver is going to send to the transmitter. And I have the Radiolink T8FB, this is the Bluetooth version. So you can set it up with an Android phone. I think they also have an iOS app and they have a Windows application. Now on the Radiolink T8S Bluetooth version of their transmitter, which is a game controller form factor transmitter, I demonstrated with that the setup on the Android application. So this time I'm going to use the Windows application. You can also update the firmware on this transmitter, which I did before I set this transmitter up with this receiver. I've got the latest firmware installed on it. I will have links in the show notes to Radiolink's information for the T8S and a T8FB transmitter. There are links there for the drivers for the transmitter, the firmware for the transmitter, the firmware update utility, and also the configuration software. I just followed the instructions that they had on their website for updating the firmware, and it went off flawlessly. I didn't have a single problem. So as long as you follow those step-by-step instructions, there's also a digital manual that you can download for this transmitter. Just follow those instructions and you won't have any problem. I did do a screen capture of the Windows application, so I want to show you that. It will show you my setup on this plane and how I set up my alarms for RSSI, for the receiver voltage, for the flight battery voltage, and also for the transmitter battery voltage. Now I have 4 AA's installed in this, but the battery tray is removable. It has a JST connector. You can also use a 2S to 4S LiPo to power your transmitter, and I will probably do that later on. I'll probably remove the battery tray and just use a 2S LiPo to power it. But what I wanted to demonstrate before I show you the application, I've got one battery here that's just above 3.7 volts per cell, or 7.4 volts for the pack. I have my transmitter flight battery alarm set for 7.4 volts. This battery that I have in here now is nearly fully charged. So first I wanted to show you, turn on the transmitter, and then you want to take your balance cable and connect your balance cable to the telemetry cable for the receiver so it can monitor the flight battery, and then just power it up. Now on the Radiolink R8XM receiver, it has a little black button on the side of it. If you quick push that button, it'll switch between SBUS and PPM mode. But if you hold it in for about 3 seconds, you'll get a fast flashing light, and that puts it into bind mode. And then what you want to do, once you have it in bind mode, then you want to power up your transmitter. And then the T8S and the T8FB will automatically bind to it after you power them up. If the receiver is in bind mode, when you power on the transmitter, it'll bind right up to it. So as you can see, I've got everything working on here. On this On this, the way this plane is configured, you know, the orientation of the servos and stuff, I did have to put my channels in reverse for the aileron and the elevator. So there are just little tabs right here on the front that shows you which channel they're for, and moving that switch up is for normal, moving it down is for reverse. So I had to reverse two of the channels to get everything moving and correcting in the proper direction. So, and I also want to demonstrate fail-safe for you because I also have fail-safe set up. I can't remember if I showed the configuration for fail-safe, but with the radio transmitter, you want to set the value for fail-safe for all of your control surfaces to 50, and you want to set the value for the throttle at 0. Okay, so let's go ahead and power up the motor. All right, so I've got input on the ailerons. Now I'm going to shut off the transmitter. Everything went back to neutral and the motor shut down. All right, so I'll power it back up. And now I'm bound back up just that quick. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to disconnect this battery that I have in here now. And I want to connect up this battery. So hopefully you'll be able to hear the alarm when it detects that the voltage is 7.4 volts or lower. Let me get this one pulled out. Okay. Now, I'm just going to hook this one up. Same way. I'm going to connect the balance plug first, and then I'm going to connect the power cable. Okay, let's see. Okay, now we're bound up. Don't put your transmitter too close to the receiver; it will flood it. Okay, so did you hear that? Listen. Okay, that's the transmitter. It's going ding, ding, ding. Okay, so those 3 tones that'll keep repeating. Okay, it's going off now. All right, so that works. So now what I will do is I took a screen capture when I was configuring this transmitter and receiver for this plane, and so I'll put that up on the screen now so that you can see it. And then we will take this out and we'll do a test flight with the Radiolink T8FB with this receiver. It also will bind up to a multi-protocol transmitter. I did bind up to it with my TX16 just fine, and everything was working using the Protocol Radiolink sub-protocol Air. So this receiver is also compatible with OpenTX and multi-module if you have the 4-in-1 module, supports the Radiolink protocol. All right, so here's the application. I have the Radiolink T8FB transmitter connected up to the computer, and you can see that it's reading all the sticks, and it's on USB COM port 3. But I wanted to show you up here in this information section because it's currently bound up to the Radiolink A560 3D trainer plane. And I have the Radiolink R8XM telemetry receiver installed on that. And that's what I'm bound up to. So I want to show you right now, it's showing that my battery voltage on my transmitter, it's giving you a live view of the voltage that's in the transmitter right now at 5.4 volts. The model flight battery is at 8.2 volts. It's giving my RSSI at 23 to 22 dBm. And my receiver power is currently at 5 volts. So if I go into, once you connect to the application, you want to read from the transmitter to load the current configuration, which I've already done. But if you go into system, I wanted to show you, this is where you set up your alarm. So I have my transmitter voltage alarm set up for 4.5 volts. So when my transmitter battery power gets down to 4.5 volts, and I think I may set that for 4.2. Let's see, 4.2. Yeah, I'm going to set that to 4.2. That's
1.1 volts per, let's go 1.1 volt per battery would give me 4.4. So I'm going to write that to the transmitter. All right, so if my voltage, the battery pack voltage on my transmitter goes down to 4.4 volts, it is going to give me an alarm. And it's currently showing at 5 volts, but if for some reason my voltage goes down to 4 volts on the receiver, it's going to give me an alarm. On the EXT alarm, that's my flight battery, and it's showing you up here right now. It's currently at 8.2 volts. So if my pack gets down to 7.4 volts or 3.7 volts per cell, I want it to give me an alarm. I like to land my planes with 3.6 volts left in the pack. Okay, so that would be 7.2 volts, right? So if I get an alarm at 7.4 volts or 3.7 volts in the pack, in each cell, then that'll give me time to get it on the ground and landed while still having 3.6 volts per cell or 7.2 volts for the pack. And then it's also going to get me an RSSI alarm too if the RSSI drops too much. It also shows you the current firmware I have loaded on the transmitter, which is version 5.19. It shows you the current configuration software that I have running right now, which is version 4.6. And it's also showing that my stick mode is mode 2. All right, now for the A560, I've got it set up very much the same way that I have it set up on my TX16S. So if we go into the monitor here, channel 1 is aileron, and I'll move my aileron stick. Channel 2 is elevator. There's the elevator stick. Channel 3 is the throttle. Okay, and channel 4 is the rudder. And then channel 5, of course, is the flight mode for the gyro. That's a 3-position switch, as you can see. And then channel 6, I think, is the top, the top right-hand dial on top of the transmitter. Channel 7 is also a flight mode switch. It's a 2-position switch. And you can see that it's also affecting the mode on channel 5, as it should. All right, so, and then the top left-hand dial that I'm going to move right now so you can see it is on channel 8. So it's reading all of the channels, the switches, the dials on the transmitter just fine. So if we go to an advanced 1, we'll put it in channel 1, which is aileron. I wanted you to see here how I've got it set. I got my mix turned on. I've got it set for 85% dual rate up and down. If you go into an advanced 2, you select channel 1, you can see that there it is. It shows my dual rate 85%, and this is where I have my expo. I have my mix on. My expo is at 60%. All right, go back to advanced 1. Let's select channel 2, which is the elevator. I've got my dual rate up and down set for 100%. Go into advanced 2, so channel 2 shows the dual rate at 100%, and I've got the expo at 50 on the elevator. And channel 3 is going to be throttle, and as you can see, it's at 100%. If I go to advanced 2, I should not have any expo on channel 3. I don't know why it's showing 50% expo on channel 3. Let's see, channel 3. Yeah, so we want that set for 0. I'm going to write that. Okay. Go back to channel advanced 1 and select channel 4, which is going to be the rudder. And it'll have 100% dual rate up and down on the rudder. It shows channel 4. It shows 100% on the rudder. It shows 50% on the expo. And double check channel 3. And there it shows 0. Channel 3, 100%, 100% with expo at 0. Okay, so now that I have everything set up, for my A560, include my transmitter voltage alarm, my receiver voltage alarm, my RSSI, and my flight battery alarm. I'm going to go ahead and write it to the transmitter one more time, and then I'm going to save it to a file I have named a560.txt. Alright, so I just saved that. Alright, so I wanted you guys to see all this. It's a pretty cool little application that you run on your Windows system for configuring the transmitter and all of the settings for the aircraft that you want to set up.
Alright, I have the Radiolink T8FB bound up to the Radiolink A560 3D plane with the Radiolink Byme-A Gyro and the new Radiolink R8XM Telemetry receiver. Alright, got a little wind out here today, but we got some blue sky, that's different. Alright, launching. Oh yeah, we definitely got some wind. Oh, I forgot. I got it in fully stabilized mode. No wonder I couldn't pull up. All right. Switch it into wind mitigation mode. Yeah, we should be able to get it. Oop, oop, oop. Wind. Look at that spin around. Now, there must be more wind up there than what I'm feeling. Now that's telling me that my battery is low, and my guess is it's because it is really, really cold out here. And so the batteries are not holding up very well. And I have it set for 7.4 volts. Yeah, D. That's telling me the battery. Wow, that is really windy up there. This 3D plate is so cool. All right, let's see here. Let's see if we can put it into vertical mode. Whoa. Okay, that was vertical mode and some wind. All right, now, there we go. Is that cool or is that cool? That is one awesome little 3D trainer plane. Wow, man, there is really some wind out here this morning. Much more than I thought there was going to be. Ain't that awesome? So I certainly don't see any problems with this new receiver, other than my batteries don't like the cold, and so they're not holding the charge like they should. And so I'm continually getting a battery alarm on it. I wish we'd get some warmer weather. It's been, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks maybe since I've flown this. I'm getting a little rusty with 3D planes. I love that. I absolutely love that. Okay, let's put it back into stabilization mode here. There we go. Alright. So, all the modes seem to be working fine with the gyro setup with the T8FB. It's very cold out here this morning, and I'm really out of practice. But we'll bring it back around and land it. It is warning me of my battery, so the battery voltage is not holding very well. I've got it set for 7.4 volts for the pack. And got pretty good crosswind coming through. Let me bring it back through and see if I can land it on the lane without the crosswind pushing it out. Okay, here we go. There we go. That was pretty slick. Okay, so now that my batteries had a chance to recover a little bit, well, it's still giving me a beep. There we go. Okay, so once the battery pack recovers above 7.4 volts, I don't get the beeping anymore. But man, these smaller LiPos, that's just a 2S 660 milliamp hour LiPo, and it takes me about 20 minutes to get out here, and it's really cold, and so they don't hold their voltage very well in really cold weather. And I think it's about 26 degrees out here this morning. So the battery telemetry was obviously working. It started beeping me almost immediately after I put it in the air, because my guess is I probably didn't have more than about 8.1, 8.2 volts in it before I launched it. And so as soon as the battery voltage goes down to 7.4 volts or lower, it starts beeping me. And then once I landed, then the battery has a chance to recover a little bit above 7.4 volts, and no more beeping from the battery telemetry. So everything seems to be working, guys. I love these Radiolink components. The R8XM receiver that I've got in this. It's the first time that I have flown with it. I wanted to put it in this 3D plane because it's so aerobatic. You're going to get the plane in every profile possible, that you can think of, from the transmitter to see if there's any type of radio issue. If you're going to find a radio issue, you're definitely going to find it with a 3D plane, I think. So everything seems to be working just fine, except it's very, very cold. So that was with the Radiolink T8FB transmitter. That worked just fine. For being such an inexpensive transmitter, it's a pretty nice little transmitter. The next time that I bring it out, I will be flying it with the RadioMaster TX16S. I want to show you that you can also bind up to this receiver with the multi-module using Protocol Radiolink Air, and then we'll fly it with the TX16S. So I'm going to grab my plane before it gets blown off the table. And thanks for watching, and I will see you in the air.